I have here Ezekiel Kralen's story for this week. This time it's titled Deek, Scooter, Scampy, and Heilmar. Ezekiel Kralen wrote, Email correspondence, March 16th. Subject, catching up with Deek updates and other reports. Continued. Date, March 16. Deek. D-E-E-K. The next night, Friday, Deek showed up, though it was already 10 p.m., and I was settling into my nighttime routine of a late dinner and relaxing with a movie or some YouTube videos. He asked if I could watch the pups while he rode about on his bike for 15 minutes or so. I said, sure, and he was gone maybe for half an hour at most, so I laid down cardboard and a blanket for the doggy's comfort, and we had another lovely visit there on the sidewalk below my window. The Brindlekin sensed his return from across the street, their ears perked up at a rap song blaring from his speaker. When he finally crossed the street and approached, the dogs looked up at him with waggy-tail joy, and I exclaimed, they know your music. They recognized it from a block away. As he prepared to leave, I saw him adjusting his Bluetooth speaker. In a small baby buggy, he had joined somehow to the bike's rear axle, so I asked if he could use another bungee cord to better secure the hefty device. He wound up taking more than half what I had from a $12 supply I ordered only 3 days prior. And here I assumed those many cords would last for 2 or 3 months to suit his needs. He also had a cage connected to the bike behind the buggy and used the extra bungee cords to secure it. But as I watched him place the dogs in the cage, it tilted the bike back and made a soft landing on the sidewalk. Both mutts remained in the cage, even though it was open, because they preferred to remain in cozy rest upon the sleeping bag also stashed therein. I was watching all this from my window, by the way. He wound up extricating the pups from that cage and walking them along with his bike towards wherever he was destined next. I guess he didn't call up to me to return the sleeping bag, which I suggested he use to cushion the cage, because he was planning to remain outdoors for the night anyway. Scooter. Looks like he now has friends visiting and staying over in Carlson's tiny studio apartment. Well, not even a studio, as it has no kitchen, just a single unit with bathroom attached. I first realized this upon exiting the front gate last Saturday afternoon, when I stepped out to see Deek and Brindlekin. Scooter was holding the gate open and chatting with another vagrant who appeared reasonably neat. Thank Blavigus, that's a deity I just made up. I haven't put any thought into his purpose except that he's male and probably of Grecian, Macedonian, or even Cretan origin. Cretan, and C-R-E-T-A-N, not the other kind. He was blocking the exit, so I said, "Excuse me, please," and he graciously stepped aside so I could squeeze my way through. "Uh-oh," Deek exclaimed with a chuckle. "He has the key. Now everyone can get into your building." "Hush," I bent over his right ear and whispered. "He says he's paying Carlson half the rent to stay there, and we have no manager anymore, so there's really nothing I can do about it except be cool." Sidebar. Yeah, Watson, I forgot to tell you about that. When Scooter and I had our first conversation outside while I was watching the pooches, I also forgot to tell you, he said, if anyone bothers me, let him know and he'll take care of it. Boy, do I feel safe now. My response, of course, was thanks, much appreciated, for I thought it wise not to play the "you're a big fat tweaking phony scamming his way into the building since you know the manager's in the hospital on his deathbed" card. I guess that's one of the cards in a pile of cards on my imaginary Battle of the Bodhisattvas game board. I hope they're not all that wordy, but only time will tell. So, this explains why I've heard people calling up to Carlson's window for the past week, though not hollering for either him or Scooter, but someone else. For some reason, I still can't discern what that name is, though definitely one syllable. It hasn't been frequent or late at night, just once or twice a day, between 3 different people, as far as I know. Goodness gracious, I can't always be standing by my window playing neighborhood watch. But that morning, I heard someone hollering up at my building, "Oscar!" loudly, but just once. I have no idea who Oscar is. He stood around a while, halfway between my window and Carlson's, then departed. I didn't get a good look at him because I didn't want him to spot this wary pilgrim. Then toward evening, a raggedy fellow, maybe Blondie, but not sure, he was wearing a hoodie, was hollering up at Carlson's window, some name I couldn't make out, but definitely not Carlson or Scooter. It didn't sound like Oscar either. He kept it up for 10 minutes or so and then took off. And then late that night from around 2 to 3:30 a.m., someone kept pounding on the front gate repetitiously, non-stop. He just would not give up, though at no time did he holler out anything. He just kept smashing a fist, or maybe both, on the metal gate. I tried to see who it was, but all I could make out from my window was a chunky pair of legs and butt in blue jeans, thanks to the overhang blocking my view. Small gaggles of revelers passed by during those wee hours every few minutes or so, but not a single one stopped to challenge the gate smasher. Now get this, good doctor. It has occurred to me that pounding on the gate for so long could break the lock, which has happened before, and may explain why no yelling was involved. Then later Sunday morning, around 9:30, I heard another person call up to the building, some indecipherable name, but again, clearly not Carlson or Scooter, though I did peek out a minute later to see a bulging black duffel bag out front, but no one near it. Seconds later, this scraggly old fellow and an equally scraggly, though colorfully attired lady with a little doggie in her arms appeared, upon which he picked up the duffel bag, and they entered through the front gate. Apparently someone let them in. So far, all's quiet with them, no real noise disturbances to speak of coming from that apartment, and I haven't had the displeasure of crossing any of these crashers' paths inside my building, nor do they seem to be using the shared bathroom. Maybe Scooter had the good sense to purchase a plunger from a dollar store to keep Carlson's own toilet working. I certainly hope they continue to lay low, and the lock in the front gate remains secure for the nonce, so many things to be grateful for in my world. 4 o'clock, KNYO LP Fort Bragg, a little bit left in Ezekiel's story. The next part is headed Deek again. Last Sunday evening, Deek came by, asking for the rest of next Thursday's allowance in advance, $60. Started to say something about needing to pay someone back, but I cut him off. I don't want to hear your stories. I'll just give you the money, but at this rate, you're going to run out long before the month ends. In fact, he now only has $150 left, seeing as he's already received $300 within the first 2 weeks. Later, he asked to go inside just for a minute, and I told him he has a lot of nerve asking me to do something I don't want to do anymore, and haven't for at least 4 years at this point. I just gave you the rest of your 100 days in advance. I'm being so kind to you and the dogs. You should be ashamed of yourself, I exclaimed. And believe it or not, this time, and for the first time, he actually showed a touch of remorse and didn't push the matter. I then fed the pups, and he lingered about an hour out front. Scampy showed up, once more neatly dressed. She's been in an amicable mood a lot since she escaped her shared hotel room. I see and hear her almost every day now, always cheerful, up the block, across the street, on the corner, sometimes right below my window. She's around here so much these days. I remained outside while the hounds were noshing, and Scampy was crouched down along the curb beside Deek, muttering awful things to him. I suspect she has a mental debility akin to Tourette syndrome. Anyway, she said things like, "You're a fucking loser and you know it. A piece of shit like you shouldn't even exist. And I wouldn't care if you died tomorrow." I'm guessing she's simply echoing the words of a dysfunctional family she fled from and became homeless as a result. But what amazed me was how Deek handled it. He just sat there and listened with kind patience, obviously not the least bit angered by her horrid declarations. They shared the bubble pipe, and rather than hand him back the lighter, she kept diddling with it. "Please don't break my lighter," Deek softly begged. "Please don't break it." According to Deek, she sometimes goes through the things in his cart and either steals or breaks them. Yet rather than show animosity, he endures her tantrums and expletives with startling grace, never holds a grudge against her, and remains a steadfast friend. So maybe this is why he used to explode at me so often, all that resentment bottled up. So, before returning hovel for the night, I handed Deek another lighter, seeing as she still held on to the one he loaned her. Before hitting the sack, I looked out the window once more, and was pleased to see Heilmar visiting with Deek for a while too, before he finally departed with pups and cart about 20 minutes later. To be continued.